Hey everybody, Dave here again, and we've got another errors video for you to beat this horse to death. So in any event, it's a really complicated subject. There's lots and lots of moving parts. So again, just want to kind of get you guys acclimated about all of the different things that you should be doing that you're probably not, but hopefully most of you are at least coming around to the idea of now. And if we start building a lot of our applications with error handling, it's simply just going to be a better user experience. And so that's really what we're trying to do, is to create awesome products and services for either frontline workers, meaning people in the front lines of our business, or people that are going to be using our applications, or if we're developing Power Apps for our customers that we're delivering into their environments. Either way, bottom line is we should be doing our absolute best possible job in doing these types of deliveries. Just because it's low code doesn't mean that it needs to have corners cut. And I think a lot of times we're so pressed with time. There's such a huge sale on doing stuff fast and quick with low code that we just don't do the house cleaning. And I'm guilty of it, totally. I've done it myself, so I'm not just preaching to the choir. I'm also kind of on a soapbox looking in a mirror talking to myself when I tell you this too, because I'm just as guilty as everybody else. All right, here is what I wanted to highlight here in this video, and this is the errors function. So jumping over into the documentation, again, this is it. Want to bring your attention down here to the documentation link, and that documentation that I just had on screen is going to be there. So I'm going to move this back off the screen, and I'm just going to give you the skinny on what this thing is. So I have a table here, and if you look at data table 1, the data source that I'm using is the errors function. And so what do you do? And this is an error information, a record containing, sorry, I did this wrong, errors, plural, get this right yet, right? And so the way that this works is you get a group of errors. Let me re-explain this a different way, because I'm confusing my own self trying to explain it to you. The errors function is a table itself. But the problem is it's not a table that completely stands on its own. You have to wire it up. You have to connect it to a data source, okay? The whole purpose of this is you need to build an in-memory table that's dynamic. It's empty by default. It doesn't have anything in it. But when you wire it to a data source, as you interact with the data source, any errors that come up will be captured in this in-memory table. So again, I'm using the errors function to create the in-memory table, and it's not something that I'm really creating because Power Apps creates it. I mean, I could use a set variable and create the table in memory, but it is a programmatic at the Power Platform. Microsoft's doing this for you. You simply just need to know how to tap into it and get it. So by using the errors function and connecting it to a data source, I'm going to use the contacts, okay? I now have a table, a data type table. And if we come over here to the CAN, I have accounts and I have contacts wired in. Now I initially only did contacts, but because contacts has a primary key, foreign key relationship with accounts, it wires both of them in there just in case I'm needing to access any of that data. Anyway, I'm only using contacts for this example. All right, so the data source for this table that, again, it's in memory, not something you create, something Power Platform creates. I'm able to present this to you in a visual way. But programmatically, you should know that it's there and you should be able to get to it. Now, because errors will stack up on top of one another, which I'll show you in just a moment, you probably want to use the first function with this so that you can access the first record in this table in the event that there is a record in the table. Because you can see right now it's blank. There's nothing there. And over here I have a gallery, and this gallery's data source is the contacts table. So every contact that I have in my contacts table, it's business as usual. Nothing new, nothing different. Now this button, I'm patching the context table, and I'm simply passing in a blank record, knowing full well that I have required fields, knowing full well that this is going to produce an error. And so when I click this, I will see one record show up in the table over here on the right side of my screen. So I'm going to hold the Alt key down, push patch new. And you can see that I have an error. And it's error number 2. And the column that triggered the error was the last name column. And here's the message. It says field last name is required. Okay, so if I provide a last name, and then hold the Alt key down and hit patch new, I'm still potentially going to get an error, but no. And the reason I said potentially, because if I had other fields that were also required, it would have generated yet another error. And I may have gotten, as a matter of fact, I didn't test it, but I may get 2 rows because one column is going to trigger an error, the other column is going to trigger the error. I guess I could test it out and go into the Dataverse and make another arbitrary column required to test it out, or you can do that as well. I'll let you guys test that. And the other thing here is that when I went ahead and patched now with a proper record, I want you to take note that now the table is once again clean. It's empty. There's nothing in there. Now, let me show you a way that where you could patch. We're going to trigger another error. Let's patch existing. And I'm going to do contacts gallery 1 selected. So whatever I have selected in this gallery, and I'm going to pass the last name blank. Now we just saw that it's a required field. So if I patch and update an existing record by trying to wipe out or eliminate that required field, it should produce an error. And if I hit patch, it does. It gives me the same type of error. Now I want to make a quick call out, because one of the things I had to do with this column right here, when I created this, and you're in a data table and you're selecting the the fields to show in here, record, when I do record, it came out like this. Okay, it was showing and displaying like this, and it was producing a warning / error, and rightfully so. It will work, it will show you what it wants to show you or needs to show you, but let me try to get rid of the screen here. But it's simply just saying that there's an object behind here, and that object is a record object. So by going in here and using the little dot to dig in deeper, I can illustrate anything I want. So I know I'm looking for the GUID, so I'll just do contact, and this is something unique to Dataverse. Its primary key, or its whatever column for the primary key, is almost a singular version of what the table is. So if the table is called contacts, which we can see over here, the singular version is created in duplicate to make a column called whatever the table name is, but in a singular fashion. And usually this is the the column that contains your GUID. So if you're looking for something very specific to nail down, something very unique as far as what Dataverse would consider a primary key column, then go ahead and look at the at this field. Anyway, I just dug down in there to show that in this particular fashion. So know that if I go ahead and don't fix this error, and I just move along to, say, this other record and try to patch that record, I'm going and move along and continue to select and patch and select and patch, because I'm not ever resolving the error. The error never goes away from the errors table, and it just sits there and it builds. So again, this is a use case to where if you encounter an error but you don't clear the error or fix the error or resubmit it in such a way that it makes it go away, these are going to build and stack on top of one another. So in order to get the last entry, the last thing that configured the error, you're going to want to consider using the first function so that you can get the first or the last error that occurred and handle and or deal with that. So just be aware that this table does and can build In addition to when you address it, it seems to wipe itself or clear itself from the table. So as long as you understand all of this, I think you'll be just fine. This should give you enough information. Again, I'm leaving this in-depth video in here to deal with other types of error handling and another video that I have up here. So hopefully that was clear. If not, leave me some comments in the comment box below and I'll do my best to answer them as they come up. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.